disgusted. I'm absolutely disgusted with the performance of the Indiana Fever. Stephanie White got purely out-coached from beginning to end. After the first 60 seconds, after the first minute of this game, it was a wrap. It was a wrap. Like, let's just keep it real. Stephanie White did not have this team ready to play. Aaliyah Boston got up 7 shots. She's standing at the top of the key, acting like the joke. I don't understand what's going on. Let's see.
The ending didn't just fall apart, it buffered. The final seconds crawled like the stream was powered by 2005 Wi-Fi, and somehow, magically, accountability skipped the head coach entirely. According to the post-game theater, the players failed, the universe failed, time itself failed, but leadership? Untouched, untarnished, floating above it all like it comes with plot armor. Fans aren't buying it. Not anymore. Because this isn't just about one loss. This is the same WNBA storyline fans are tired of watching on repeat. When things go right, it's culture and system. When it collapses, suddenly it's execution, effort, or learning moments. Funny how the clipboard never makes a mistake. And let's talk about that delay. We're supposed to believe a professional league, fighting for legitimacy and momentum, just shrugged while the game slipped away in slow motion? No urgency. No control. Just vibes. That's not bad luck. That's mismanagement dressed up as fate. Social media already knows the script. Accountability for players, immunity for coaches. Meanwhile, the league wonders why fans are restless, why trust is thin, why every mistake becomes a referendum on competence. You can't market growth and deliver chaos. At some point, the excuses stop sounding strategic and start sounding scared. So yeah, fans aren't yelling out of emotion, they're reacting to a pattern. And right now, that pattern looks a lot like deflection, denial, and a coach hiding behind everyone else while the season burns. If responsibility were currency, she'd still be broke. And judging by the noise online, the patience clock is running even slower than that final possession.
Game, I don't know if it, affected the readiness, at all. But yeah, I mean, it's disruptive. It's not something that you expect to see. But we often talk about controlling the things that we can control, and we couldn't control that. So staying warm and staying engaged. And I thought that we did what we could to work through the issue, and kudos to everybody that had a hand in at least working it out. But then we came out and we weren't ready those first 5-6 minutes of the quarter.
The horn finally sounded, but by then the game felt less like professional basketball and more like a tech demo gone wrong. The clock dragged so badly you'd swear someone was manually advancing it with a remote that needed new batteries. Fans weren't watching the floor anymore. They were staring at the scoreboard, confused, suspicious, and borderline impressed by how broken it was. This wasn't tension. This was time travel in reverse. A league that wants to be taken seriously somehow let the most basic piece of equipment turn into the main character. Every possession felt like it was happening in slow motion, as if the arena was waiting for Windows XP to reboot. Momentum died, rhythm vanished, and whatever drama the game had left was swallowed by disbelief. At that point, it wasn't basketball, it was a social experiment. How long can fans tolerate chaos before they stop pretending it's normal? Welcome to a night where the clock clocked out early, professionalism followed it, and everyone left wondering how the most advanced era of the sport still can't get time right. Fire.
Malfunction. I'm gonna be real, WNBA. That was nasty work. It was like an hour delay. This is nasty. Y'all gotta get it together. Kathy Engelberg, the refs are trash. You can't even get shot clocks that work. What is going on? Y'all take so many unnecessary shots at the fans, and I've had enough of it. Y'all need to start looking in the mirror at what you guys control in this league. It's ridiculous. Ready. Isn't it your job? Now, players have to play, yes, but isn't it your job as a coach to be reiterating to the players, hey, let's go, guys. We need to come out with energy. I know there's been a delay. Let's be on our keys. We know the game plan. Let's come out with some energy. Let's hit them in the mouth first to come out of this break.
By then, the mood had turned toxic. Fans weren't just annoyed, they were furious. Players looked lost, the broadcast lost control, and social media did what it always does. Turned embarrassment into sport. Clips were looping, jokes were multiplying, and the memes were moving with more pace than the actual game. Some said it looked like a rec league setup. Others joked they'd seen tighter operations at a charity raffle. Either way, the verdict was brutal. And then came the encore. Out steps Stephanie White, calmly explaining how none of this lands at her feet. Not the confusion. not the collapse. Not the moment spiraling into parody. Responsibility apparently has a very selective guest list, and head coach didn't make the cut. That's when the noise really started. Because fans know the difference between bad luck and bad leadership. They know when chaos is unavoidable and when it's being managed poorly. And watching a coach dodge ownership while everyone else gets labeled the problem? That doesn't calm anyone down, it lights the fuse. By the time the press conference ended, the game itself was almost irrelevant. The story wasn't the loss. It was the deflection. And judging by the reaction online, patience isn't just thin anymore. It's evaporating.
Have you ever met somebody? Do you know anybody? Are you friends with somebody who just seems to always lie? Even when they have no need to lie? They just lie so often that they don't even know that they're lying anymore. Well, that seems to be the situation we have with one Stephanie White. She lied to get out of Connecticut, lied her way to Indiana, lied how she's going to utilize Caitlin Clark, lied about the vets that she's bringing in, lie after lie after lie after lie.
And this is where the mask really slips. Because there's a pattern here, and fans have seen it enough times to recognize it instantly. When the team wins, it's vision. It's culture. It's the system working exactly as designed. But when it falls apart, suddenly the explanation turns cosmic. Execution failed. Officiating shifted. Momentum betrayed them. Reality itself apparently refused to cooperate. Accountability only shows up when it's convenient. Somehow, responsibility never makes it back to the clipboard. Losses get redistributed like free samples. A little blame here, a little blame there, anywhere except the one seat that actually controls rotations, timeouts, and adjustments. It's a masterclass in narrative gymnastics. That's why the frustration feels different now. This isn't about one bad night or one broken clock. It's about a coach who treats success as proof of genius and failure as an act of fate. And fans aren't buying the astrology anymore. At a certain point, the stars stop being the excuse, and the pattern becomes the story.
God, a game like this will make you question everything about this Indiana Fever team. Hell, about the WNBA. I mean, boy, that was some professionalism at the beginning of this game with all these shot clock problems. I mean, what are we doing here? Elementary schools don't have this kind of problem. I mean, what are we? I swear, this was one of the hardest games I ever had to sit through, and that's considering the Golden State Valkyries, they're pretty entertaining, frankly.
And fans aren't slow. They've been here before. This wasn't a one-off moment at the podium. It's starting to feel like a tradition. Loss happens, microphone appears, and suddenly everyone else is the problem. The irony? On a night when the clock became public enemy number one, the finger-pointing showed up right on schedule. Poetic, honestly. But here's the part that really sticks. Throwing players under the bus is the easiest move in sports. It's the lowest effort escape hatch there is. Execution wasn't there is just a polished way of saying, don't ask me follow-ups. Except there's a catch. This isn't someone clocking in and out. This is the person steering the entire operation. Coaching isn't just drawing arrows on a whiteboard. It's managing chaos, controlling momentum, reading the room, and knowing when to calm things down instead of lighting a fire and walking away. Leaders absorb pressure. They don't redirect it like it's a hot potato. Yet somehow, every loss turns into a seminar on player failure, while decisions on rotations, timeouts, and late-game control quietly avoid the spotlight. Funny how that works. It's hard to talk about adjustments when you're pretending nothing needed adjusting. So now the real question isn't emotional, it's practical. Was this actually a breakdown on the floor? Or was it another night where the bench misplayed the moment and hoped nobody noticed? Because if we're handing out blame, maybe it's time the clipboard took a seat under the lights too.
Kase out-coaches Stephanie White yet again as the Golden State Valkyries sweep the Indiana Fever this season. They beat us with Caitlin Clark. They beat us without Caitlin Clark. We have the superior talent. They have the inferior team. We have a coach that stands there with her arms crossed. They have a coach that gets in the thick of things and crazy coaches. When you have a more talented roster, yet you lose to a inferior team, that is coaching 101.
Let's be fair for a second. Yes, shots were missed. Yes, turnovers happened. That's basketball. But here's where the conversation actually matters. When the game tilted sideways after the clock mess, where was the intervention? Where was the timeout to slow the heartbeat? Where was the lineup change to stop the bleeding? Instead, it was hands-off management at the worst possible moment. Momentum doesn't fix itself. Coaches are paid to step in when it swings. The delay wasn't background noise either. It froze the pace, drained energy, and handed the opposition a free reset. That's not a footnote, that's a disruption. And elite coaches prepare for disruptions. They anticipate the weird. They plan for the unexpected. History is full of teams surviving delays, stoppages, and complete nonsense because leadership adjusted on the fly. Here, the response looked like paralysis. That's why fans aren't confused, they're irritated. They can tell the difference between players struggling and a bench failing to respond. One is human, the other is systemic. And when the post-game explanation pretends the only issue was execution, it feels less like analysis and more like avoidance. The best coaches don't pretend perfection. They own the miss. They say that one's on me and move forward. Accountability isn't weakness, it's credibility. And right now, credibility is what's slipping through the cracks. So the real debate isn't whether the players were flawless. It's whether leadership ever showed up when the moment demanded it. And that's a much harder question to dodge.
What was that? Just everything about that, what was that? Like, it's been 3 hours since the game was supposed to start. The game was delayed basically an hour. What was that? Like, what was that? Like, the 63 points against the Valkyries team. Aaliyah Boston scored 4 points. She had 4 points. 4 points. Kelsey Mitchell, 4 of 14.
Real coaches understand one simple rule: morale is currency. When things fall apart, you don't cash out your players in public. You stand in front of the cameras and you wear it, even when the truth is more complicated. That's how trust survives. Accountability happens privately. Unity happens publicly. That's coaching 101. And somehow that lesson seems to be missing here. Instead, the post-game routine feels rehearsed. Loss first, explanation second, blame distributed everywhere except the one place it's supposed to land. It's not just tone deaf, it's corrosive. Because every time a coach turns a press conference into a player critique, it sends a message straight into the locker room. You're on your own. Imagine grinding through a game, fighting momentum, battling chaos, and then realizing the next hit is coming from your own sideline. That doesn't motivate anyone. It fractures teams. And players don't forget it, even if they smile through it. That's why this matters beyond fan outrage. This kind of leadership doesn't just lose games, it loses rooms. And once that happens, no system, no culture speech, no excuse tour can put it back together. And here's the reality nobody wants to say out loud. Every time this pattern repeats, the temperature rises. Fans lose patience. Noise gets louder. And eventually, front offices stop ignoring the smoke. Because if every loss is on the players, then what exactly is the coach providing? If execution, composure, and adjustment are all player responsibilities, then the role on the sideline starts to look decorative. At some point, someone's going to ask the uncomfortable question, and it's already echoing online. If this isn't on the coach, why is she there at all?